Howdy folks, and welcome back to Mingles with Jingles, episode 31 I think. The number's not important. What matters is that it's another episode. And what I wanted to do this week was I wanted to start off with what's pissed me off this week. Which isn't necessarily going to be a regular section of Mingles with Jingles on a Monday, but it's going to be this week, because I have been wound up beyond all belief by War Thunder recently. And it's to do with something that was introduced in the last patch. They introduced a whole bunch of titles. There's all sorts of titles that you can earn. Titles like Pilot, Ace, the obvious ones. There are some obscure ones, Fine Art Expert for unlocking all sorts of decals for your aircraft, things like that. But there's one title in particular that has had me absolutely chewing my keyboard with rage and just disbelief at the sheer stupidity of Gaijin for even contemplating putting it in the game. Imagine for a second, if you will, there's a planning meeting at Gaijin HQ, and they're all sitting around the table, stroking their beards and smoking their pipes. And somebody says, "So, comrades," this is my Russian accent, by the way, just in case it wasn't obvious. It probably wasn't. "So, comrades, what do you think is the most annoying thing that is currently happening in our amazing game? What is it that pisses off more people than any other thing? Is it perhaps the team killing, the ramming, and the friendly fire? Nah, you're probably right. So, comrades, what do you propose we do about it? Encourage more of it? Give them a title. Yes, let's put a ramming title in the game. Give those assholes something to really aim for." And so, yeah, they put the title Rammer in the game. And that's not really what boggles the mind. What boggles the mind is somebody suggested this, and not one person put their hand up and said, "No, that's the worst fucking idea I have ever heard. People are going to be arseholes in a multiplayer game, but there's no reason for us to go out of the way to fucking encourage them to do it more." Nobody said that. They actually went ahead and did it. What in the name of fuck were they thinking? Because there's very little that pisses you off more when playing a game like War Thunder than when you're flying a historical battle in, for example, a B-24 Liberator. You've just spent 12 minutes flying to the target area, and then some complete cockholster does this. Because he quite clearly hasn't been enough of an arsehole today. He hasn't got the title yet. And these are not isolated incidents. Since this title was introduced into the game, you used to be able to get away from the rampant douchebaggery prevalent in online multiplayer games by playing historical battles in War Thunder. But it's creeping into historical battles now as well. Everything you've seen here so far today has been historical battle footage. And they're not just doing it to the enemy. Oh no, you can get the Rammer title by ramming your teammates as well. Oh, fantastic Gaijin. Fantastic. I mean, that could conceivably have been an accident. But if the guy who did it is proudly displaying the Rammer title over his name, are you going to give him the benefit of the doubt? He didn't get that title by accident. And if he did get that title by accident, why is he proudly displaying it? Possibly because he's an arsehole. And now, he's an arsehole who's being rewarded for being an arsehole. He's been given a badge of arseholery to proudly display over his name. And it gets worse, because I will guarantee you, because I know what people are like, the second you put an achievement system into a game, people will go out and do things that they wouldn't have dreamed of doing before, just to collect the achievements. People like collecting achievements. Right now in War Thunder, there are people who never intentionally ram, going out doing it on purpose just to collect the fucking title. Gaijin, what? I just don't understand how nobody put their hand up and said, "You've got to be out of your fucking minds. This is the worst idea we have ever heard of." Not one person said that. I can't believe it. But it's not all terrible. There is actually a funny side. See, the thing about getting rammed is that the rammer and the rammee both count as having crashed, so nobody gets a kill out of it. Now, the rammer doesn't care. He's just doing it to piss you off. But sometimes, for example, a TA-152 has just shot the crap out of you. Your B-17 is about to pancake. The TA-152 is going to get a kill. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, some arsehole thinks it'd be funny to fly through your wing. You've now crashed. Nobody's got the kill. And your gunner's nailed the TA-152. So, the only person the arsehole who flew through your wing has trolled is somebody on his own team. He just actually saved you from being shot down. So, yeah. There is always a funny side. Sometimes you just have to look really hard to find it. So that is what's pissed me off this week. Anyway. Next. I haven't mentioned Duxter in a while. For those of you who haven't visited Duxter, it's a gaming portal. And they have a World of Tanks gaming portal there as well. And basically it's kind of like Facebook for tankers. There's all sorts of stuff there. I do recommend it. If you want to check it out, and I do recommend you do, link in the video description down below. However, one thing I wanted to mention about Duxter was that as well as loads of other stuff to do with World of Tanks, they also have their own forums. And I found this amusing thread on the Duxter Forums this week. And it's, who do you prefer, Quickie Baby or Jingles? So naturally I went in there and posted a comment saying, Quickie Baby, Jingles is a nub, etc, etc. And all sorts of people started arguing with me. But that's not the point. The point is, somebody actually made a really, really good comment. And I want to repeat it here, because I think he makes a very, very good point. Now, the overwhelming majority of the comments said, Quickie Baby's a better player, Jingles is more entertaining. And that's totally fair. Quickie Baby is definitely, unquestionably, a much better player than I am. And I'm, happy that a lot of you think I'm entertaining, so that's good too. But one guy made a very, very good observation, and what he said was this. Now, this guy, his name is Gotma, and his post basically said this. He prefers Quickie Baby. He likes the way Quickie Baby prefers the aggressive playstyle the same way he does. And that's why he feels that Quickie Baby's information given about the game is much more useful for him. No offence to me, but his impression was that I have a different audience to Quickie Baby. Whereas he finds me entertaining, but once you reach a certain skill level in the game, you can't learn anything new about World of Tanks from me. Whereas Quickie Baby, as a Unicum player, provides tactics and playstyle that isn't covered by that many YouTubers. Quickie Baby thinks very analytically, which helps Gotma to understand his decisions. So in Gotma's opinion, he's a perfect commentator. He watches me, but just for fun. And he's subscribed to both of us. So, Gotma from the Duxter Forums. You are subscribed to both of us, so hopefully you are watching this video. Thank you very, very much for that very, very thoughtful observation. I've never actually had anybody come right out and say it quite like that before. I've heard a lot of people say that, yeah, Jingles is entertaining, Quickie Baby's a better player, blah, 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 but nobody's ever actually said it quite like that, and it is absolutely on the money. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps Quickie Baby and I do have two completely different audiences. A couple of other people have said something kind of similar, in that they feel that my skill level in the game is closer to theirs, so they feel more at home, if you like, watching my videos. But nobody's ever said it from the other point of view the way you did, and it was a real eye-opener, so thank you for that comment. But there is also a third option. If you think I'm entertaining and you wish I was a better player, and if you think Quickie Baby is amazing and you learn a lot from him, but you wish he had my sense of humour, watch Circumflexes. He is like the bastard love child of me and Quickie Baby. I mean, you watch what you want to watch, but the options are there. As long as you're finding something entertaining and hopefully educational as well, then everyone's a winner. I don't really care who you subscribe to, as long as you're having fun doing it. For those of you who may be new here, I do live stream twice a week. Well, I don't live stream, I piggyback on other people's live streams. Circumflexes on a Monday night, Quickie Baby on a Thursday night. I always say, links in the video description, and I always forget to do it. Hopefully this time I'll remember, but I will try to remember to put links to both their Twitch channels and their YouTube channels in the video description down below. They're the only guys I regularly live stream with. They're the only ones who are stupid enough to have me along. Right, enough of this. Question time. I did remember to actually answer some questions this week. There's a couple of them. Here we go. Who's first? Let's have a look in the box. Pull a name out at random. I don't actually have a box. I'm making it up, right? Why is that even funny? Oh, we'll edit this out. It's very unprofessional. Okay, so first question. Spencer10246 wants to know, Jingles, how do you feel about the event system, the mission system that Gaijin have introduced to determine who gets access to the War Thunder Ground Forces closed beta? What they've done is that they have to have some way of determining who is going to get early access to the beta test for ground forces. And the way that they've decided to do it is to run a whole bunch of achievements. And whoever earns the most of these achievements will get closer to the top of the list for early access to the War Thunder Ground Forces closed beta. All of which sounds, great in theory. And it is good that they're actually doing it this way. It makes sense. The people that play the game the most are the ones with the best chance of getting early access to the ground forces testing. But the devil, as usual, is in the details. If you only have time to play War Thunder for a couple of hours a day, you stand very little chance of ever completing any of these achievements. And not everybody is able to sit on their ass playing computer games all day. I mean, my job is to sit on my ass playing computer games all day, and I don't have time to sit on my ass playing computer games all day. Most of what I do most of my time is consumed by editing video and doing commentary on video. I spend relatively little time actually playing the game. And I do this for a freaking living. So, people with families and jobs, have a hard time completing these achievements. Especially since you only get a day to do each one. And the list of the things that you have to do for each daily achievement, I just get the impression that they haven't really put a lot of thought into it. For example, yesterday's mission was shoot down X number of players while flying German aircraft. Do you have any idea what it was like trying to get into a historical battle while this mission was running for that day? Nobody was flying anything other than Germans. It was impossible to get an historical battle. People would just sit in the queue for 5 minutes and then get dumped out again because nobody was queuing in anything other than German aircraft. They broke historical battles just to decide, who would have a slightly better chance of getting into the ground combat closed beta. Today's mission is take out 50 ground targets with British bombers. Oh, that one was fun. You see, not everybody has a large number of aircraft in every nation. A lot of people will just pick one nation or two nations and grind XP down those two. It's like trying to master every single nation in World of Tanks at the same time. A lot of people just don't do that, right? You pick one nation and you work your way down their tank trees. So that means that for a large number of people playing War Thunder, they're playing British aircraft for the first time. Or the only British aircraft they have are very, very low-level ones. Well, that's all right. The British do have some good low-level bombers. Well, that's not strictly true either, is it? What are you talking about, Jingles? Well, let me tell you a story.
today was actually the first time I thought the first time I actually had time to put some effort into completing one of these achievements. I've missed all of the others, so the chances of me getting into the closed beta are fairly slim. And today I thought, yeah, I'll have a go. And it was knock out 50 ground targets with British aircraft. So, okay, low-level British bombers. And I built a lineup that basically had rocket-armed Hurricanes, the Wirraway, the Blenheim, the Beaufort, the early Wellingtons, and so on and so on. And I played one mission, arcade battle, and I got 12 ground kills. I mean, it was horrible. It was just full of British bombers and people ramming and shooting down British bombers. But I thought, hey, what the hell? It's only 50 ground targets. It's not that bad. All right, it'll take an hour or two at the most. And then I jumped into another game, prepared my aircraft, jumped in into another game. And I got 12 ground kills in that one. I thought, hey, let's see how we're doing. That's 22 ground kills. And I pulled up the achievement page and I looked, and it said, mission for the day, stage 1 of 3, 6 of 20 kills. I thought, what? What the hell's going on? I got 22 ground targets knocked out. Why is it only recorded 6? Perhaps it's a bug. Maybe the achievement hasn't actually caught up with the game status. And I jumped in and had another game and got another 10 or so ground kills. I went back in, checked the achievement, and now it was up to 12. And I had over 30 ground kills, and I couldn't figure out what the hell was going wrong. I'll tell you what it is. Not all British aircraft are British aircraft. Some of them are Australian, or New Zealand, or Canadian. Aircraft like the Bristol Beaufort bomber, because it's a British bomber, but because it has, it's designed in Britain, it's manufactured in Britain, manufactured under license in Australia, and the version of it in the game, it's a British bomber, but it's got Australian Air Force markings on it. Ground targets knocked out in that don't count. But they don't tell you this. You have to find out the hard way. And I just gave up. It's just not worth the effort. There's only so much time in the day I actually have for playing these games, and to waste it getting rammed out of the sky by griefing arseholes when you're flying your bombers, and then have the kills not count anyway. No. Not worth it. Not worth it. Not worth the rage and the frustration. So, yeah. The whole process of having to complete these achievements in order to be eligible for early access to the ground forces testing is a fine idea. But I get the distinct impression that very little thought has actually gone into the missions that they're making you do to get access, because the missions are ruining the game experience for everybody. I mean, it sounds great. You say, yeah, get 50 kills in German aircraft, but then nobody plays anything but German aircraft, and you can't get a historical battle. And this happens every single time. And their solution was to make the suggestion on the forums that once you'd completed the achievement in your German aircraft, please jump into aircraft of a different nation so that everybody can farm kills on you. Yeah, that's going to happen. I mean, really, they just haven't thought it through. Great idea, terrible execution. Just no, Gaijin. It all has the hallmarks of a well-intentioned, well-meaning, but really inexperienced multiplayer game developer. I mean, you can knock Wargaming and Blizzard all you like, but they know their audience. Right? They know the kind of trolls that inhabit the internet and play their games. They are fully aware of just how selfish and downright nasty their players can be if they give them half a chance. And they never... Well, they've learnt their lesson the hard way. And I think Gaijin are learning their lesson the hard way here, with just how petty and selfish and downright nasty players can be if you give them half a chance. Like I said, the whole process, fantastic idea, terrible execution. They have totally overestimated their audience on this one. Oh no. So yeah. Better luck next time, guys, you know. Speaking of people being arseholes, yeah, there's a lot of that about in this week's Mingles with Jingles. A thought occurred to me this week. Actually, I put a video up called Not Today, Scumbag, Not Today. And it was an amusing game of World of Tanks that ended with an enemy artillery player being the last one left alive and trying to suicide by throwing himself off a cliff into water and drown his crew. And I thought, I'm not having any of this. And I basically suicided on him. I cliff dived on top of him, destroyed my tank, but crushed him with the wreck. Got the kill, got a crucial contribution. It's all good. And there were a lot... I mean, it's the old artillery scumbags, blah, blah, blah. Game's over. They're about to lose. They'll always suicide rather than, go down fighting. Scumbags, and so on and so on and so on. And, it occurred to me, we all have very, very short memories. And I am about to come out in defense of artillery players here, but don't worry, this video will self-destruct when you've finished watching it, and there will be no evidence. But here's the thing. Artillery players in World of Tanks are infamous for suiciding when the game is lost, and they're the last ones left alive. And everybody, myself included, I have to put my hand up and confess, I am just as guilty of, and probably more guilty than most, of criticising artillery players and calling them scumbags for doing this and denying us the kills that we've worked for by, beating the rest of their team when they just go and suicide. And yeah, it is a shitty thing to do. But the only reason that it's just artillery players that do it is because it's so easy for artillery players to do it. I guarantee you, if it was as easy for a tanker to kill himself when he was about to die as it is for artillery to do it, tankers would be doing it. How can you say that, Jingles? Good question. Glad you asked. I can say that tankers would be doing it because tankers used to do it. We've all forgotten what it was like not that long ago in World of Tanks. When if you got yourself into a bad situation in your heavy tank, or your tank destroyer, or your medium, or your light, and you were about to die, all you had to do was press escape and return to the garage, and your tank immediately exploded. Nobody got the kill. And there was so much complaining about this that Wargaming introduced the system whereby if you quit out of the battle, your tank remains on the battlefield. So it can be killed by the enemy team. And if you quit out of the battle before the battle ends, you only earn something like 10% of the XP and credits that you would have got for staying in. That is actually a relatively new change to World of Tanks. Tankers used to quit out when they were about to die all the time. Artillery are not special. The only reason artillery can still do it relatively easily is because they're small machines with low health, low armour, and very, very powerful high explosive ammunition. If there isn't a river for them to drown themselves in or a cliff for them to throw themselves off, all they have to do is turn around, point their gun at the nearest brick wall and pull the trigger, and the splash damage from their own shells will kill them. Artillery can do it, so artillery do it. If tankers could do it, I guarantee you tankers would be doing it too. The only reason tankers can't do it is because they were doing it so often, Wargaming introduced the system that penalised them for doing it. And so the next time you're playing World of Tanks and your team has just utterly ruffle-stomped the opposition, and the only survivors are the enemy artillery, and yet they all start throwing themselves off the nearest cliff like a bunch of lemmings, yeah, they are festering scumbags with no more right to exist on God's clean earth than a virus. But they're not doing anything that tankers wouldn't also be doing if it was as easy for them to do it as it is for artillery. So, The mighty Jingles has spoken in defense of scumbags, sort of. This video will now self-destruct. This video isn't really going to self-destruct. I've been looking over the comments of the... Obviously, I've been looking over the comments of the previous Mingles with Jingles to see what sort of stuff to talk about in this week's Mingles with Jingles. And while wading through the mountains of spam from Bob and his protest against Google, which was really, really starting to get annoying, by the way. I talked in the last Mingles with Jingles about how everything that exists in Australia has basically evolved over millions of years to kill everything else that exists in Australia. And the only people mad enough to live there are, well, Australians. And I'm very happy to say that the overwhelming response from my Australian subscribers can be summarised as this. Struth, Jingles, you whinging pommy bastard, you need to harden the fuck up, mate. Yeah, fair enough. I can't argue with that. But, you know, I do like living. I have 43 years experience of it, and I'm getting pretty good at it. So if it's all the same with you, I think I'd rather go to New Zealand. And that, folks, is how easy it is to start a flame war in the comments of a YouTube video. Let the arguments commence. Here, I'll get you started. New Zealand. They gave us Peter Jackson. But then again, they did owe us Peter Jackson to make up for giving us Russell Crowe. Discuss. Well, anyway, rapidly approaching the end of this week's Mingles with Jingles. Oh, actually, there's something else that's pissed me off this week. I can't believe I forgot this. You may be aware that I have a planned visit to the Fleet Aeron Museum at Yeovilton in Somerset. Going down with Ed Francis again. We're going down on a day that they're normally closed, but they're opening the whole place up just for us with all sorts of... We're going to have veteran World War II and Korean War fighter pilots there to tell us about their experiences. With the aircraft that they flew, you know, it's going to be amazing. And I actually went out and I bought a new camera. The camcorder, the JVC camcorder that I have used for all of the other museum visits, is all right, but the focus isn't great. It doesn't do particularly well in low light situations, you know, like inside a tank, for example. And so I went out and I spent £777 on a Canon camcorder. Very, very good camcorder. Also aware that sometimes the sound from the previous videos hasn't been great, and I've had to spend a lot of time enhancing the audio of the museum visit videos. It takes an awful long time to do one of these museum visit videos purely because I have to spend a lot of time messing around with the sound. I bought, it's Australian actually, a Rode shotgun mic. The microphone that I'm actually recording this Mingles with Jingles on is a Rode Podcaster. And I love that about the Rode product. When you look at the list of features, this is great. I'm not making this up, right? You look at the list of features on a Rode product, and it says, you know, this much audio gain, blah, 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 blah. And right there at the bottom of the list of features, made in Australia. They're just so proud of these microphones that they make. But anyway, yeah. So I've got this Rode microphone, a shotgun mic for the video camera. And it doesn't fucking fit. Canon, the scumbags, right, the people that made the vidcam, have made the shoe adapter on the top of their vidcam just that little bit. There's literally 1 frickin' millimeter in it, too small to fit standard shotgun mic adapters. If you want to use anything other than a Canon shotgun microphone on this video camera, you have to pay Canon another £10 for a frickin' adapter. Ah, God, I really... do you know what I mean? Oh, I'm going to take it out on this artillery. Come on, where are you? There he is. Chew on this, scumbag. Yeah, suck it. That's it for this week, folks. Take care. I'll catch you next time.